Human Settlements Minister Thembi Simelani is calling for urgent action after a fire that claimed the lives of a family of 6 in the Boksburg area. A mother, a father and their 4 children all died in Monday's fire. 1 child survived. Let's speak now to Minister Simelani, who's joining us on Full View. Good to have your time, Minister. When you look at an informal settlement such as the Marikana informal settlement where this fire happened yesterday, how far up or down the housing list are those people there?
Well, solely beneficiaries which are coming from the era of 1996 to 1999. That's how back we are in terms of our human settlement list in our system. But we do prioritize challenges which emanate from disaster of this kind, or either water or in the form of floods or strong winds in provinces that experience such. So our policy says we need to be able to prioritize such. We can't afford as government the child who is remaining not to be prioritized after he or she has lost both parents and siblings. But we are also going to be rolling out our fire prevention kits, the fireballs, to avoid and make sure that we prevent the loss of life going forward. Our budget for provinces, including municipalities, increases with regard to the allocation in terms of eradication of informal settlements, but also the urban grants to target difficulties that metros and urban municipalities faces due to migration and influx of number of people, which increases on the human settlement demand. But of course, our list is still very much high.
On that note, then, what are the chances that people like the families in the Marikana informal settlement will then have better living conditions, pardon me, by the target of 2029, where you intend to basically upgrade, I think is the language, some 4,000 informal settlements?
Well, yes, we are trying to do that. We are targeting about 4,076 to be exact, in line with our medium-term development plan attached to the strategy. We are lucky to a very less extent, of course, the budget announced by the minister last week does not cut a lot with regard to human settlement. Unfortunately, yes, it doesn't give us growth or an increase as we had anticipated. So we're expecting that as we devolve in July to provinces, specialization will be given and priority into the informal settlements. Of course, not in one day, but we are targeting. In fact, we're going to Parliament responding to that question tomorrow in the afternoon, where members of Parliament are insisting on us to make sure that we prioritize the 4,000 informal settlements, relying so much on municipalities and the Department of Rural Development to make sure that the work that we have started with regard to formalizing and registering informal settlement and the sifting of the information which relates to beneficiaries who qualify needs to be speeded up. But we are hopeful that as we wrap the 7th administration, we should have touched on the 4,000 that is targeted.
I hear you on the general plan, Minister. What I'm trying to understand is whether an area like Marikana will be catered to by the 2029 target, or will it be another case of a broken housing promise? I mean, people in these areas have seen people in your office come and go with no material change in their condition. And now there's been a tragedy and you're making this call, but is there a guarantee that your call will amount to actual change for them?
Well, I am saying that we have been allocated, we have got increasing human settlements. The settlements that have been registered, like Marikana, they are part of the 4,000 that are going to be assisted. And we are calling on the province to prioritize not only the 7 family members or the disaster that struck now, but the entire and the overall Marikana area. But as I am saying, we may be saying those who came before didn't do much. No, it's not that. It is because the human settlement database increases rather than decrease. There is an incremental number of people who are in need of government provision of human settlement in a form of our RDP and BNG program to roll out to assist people who are unemployed, to assist our elders, people with vulnerabilities like people with disabilities and child-headed household. We're prioritizing that. Hence, our plan is talking of 4,000 settlements in the 7th administration.
And just briefly, Minister, then, in the context of the tragic events at Marikana Informal Settlement on Monday morning, how do you think proper housing provisions may have changed the fate of such a family? Why do you think that lives could have been spared if there had been an upgrade to the housing situation?
Well, they would have been spared. I mean, fire doesn't spread so easily like they do in the shacks because they are congested. There's very much limited space, but they've got no provision for electricity. So they still use systems which really are not aligned into what we call as risk mitigation with regard to the perpetuation of fire. And you will understand that it is winter and it's cold, the increased use of paraffin, candles, and all that, which a fall and a trip by a child or even an elder sparks the fire and it grows into many. You have got instances where you will have 400 shacks which burns in one night in the Western Cape, for example. And that indicates that had we had formalized settlements where these people have been housed properly, the possibilities of fire and its possibility of being extinguished faster and quicker by municipal emergency responses is higher, because in informal settlements, even when you have opened the road, in some instances, due to pressure, frustration, they close the roads, they build on top of municipal infrastructure. There's no space even for emergency services to move in with speed. So definitely quite a number of lives, including this family's life, could have been saved and should be saved going forward by our programs in ensuring that we house our people who are in need.
Minister Thembi Simelani, good to talk to you, the Human Settlements Minister, speaking to us on The Full View.